There is a document sitting on a desk in Zurich right now. It arrived today. It is formal, it is precise, it is carefully evidenced, and buried inside it, roughly two-thirds of the way through, is a name nobody expected to see. Not a Brazilian name, not a Scottish name, not the name of a referee or a FIFA official. The name inside Brazil's formal complaint to Gianni Infantino, filed today against the conduct of refereeing at this World Cup, is Lionel Messi. And the moment you understand why that name is there, why Brazil chose that specific comparison, why they went to the greatest footballer alive to build their legal case against a disallowed goal, the whole story shifts from a refereeing dispute into something much, much bigger. Something that could shake the foundations of how this entire expanded 48-nation tournament gets officiated from here to the final. Let's go back to Miami. Group stage, Brazil versus Scotland. The 21st minute. The match is already going Brazil's way. Vinicius Jr. has already found the net once, and the Seleção look every inch the side Carlo Ancelotti has been quietly sculpting into a tournament contender. Then it happens. Vinicius surges onto a loose ball. He challenges Scotland's Jack Hendry, physical, committed, the kind of duel you see 100 times in a World Cup. He wins it. He finishes past Angus Gunn with the cold, precise composure that defines him at his best. A clean goal. Cesar Ramos, the Mexican referee, raises his arm. Goal. Brazil lead 2-0. The stadium erupts. And then the earpiece crackles. The VAR team in the review center has flagged the build-up. Ramos is directed to the pitch side monitor. He watches. He reverses himself. Goal overturned. Foul on Hendry. Not a penalty to Scotland, just a free kick. The moment wiped clean, as if it never existed. Ancelotti turned away. 5 Champions League titles. The most decorated manager in the history of this sport. He turned away. His staff erupted behind him. Brazil's players formed a wall around Ramos that took long minutes to disperse. And in the stands, Seleção supporters watched in stunned disbelief as one of the cleanest moments of the tournament was quietly erased. But here is what you need to understand. Here is the detail that changes everything about this story. VAR at this World Cup does not exist to second-guess referees. It exists by FIFA's own written protocol to correct only clear and obvious errors, not tight calls, not matters of interpretation, clear and obvious errors. The CBF, Brazil's Football Confederation, argues in their letter to Infantino that the Vinicius challenge on Hendry did not come close to meeting that standard, that Ramos got it right the first time, that VAR had no business intervening at all. And if that is true, then what happened in Miami was not a correct application of the review system. It was the system itself breaking its own rules. Think about that. FIFA's own tool, used in a way that contradicts FIFA's own philosophy. That is not a small complaint. That is not a club filing a grievance after a bad weekend. That is the 5-time world champions telling the governing body of football that the machinery designed to protect the integrity of this tournament may have malfunctioned at their expense. On purpose or by accident, the outcome is the same. A goal was taken away, a goal that should have stood. And if you subscribe to this channel and love this kind of deep football breakdown, hit that button now because this story only gets wilder from here. Because Brazil did not stop at the Vinicius decision. They did not stand there saying they were hard done by and leave it at emotion. They opened a drawer, pulled out a mirror, and held it up to FIFA. And the reflection looking back was Argentina. In Argentina's second group match against Austria, midfielder Alexis McAllister made a physical challenge on Austria's Xaver Schlager in the build-up to a goal. The CBF argues in their letter that challenge was similar in nature and contact to what Vinicius did to Hendry. Similar pressure, comparable physicality, the same category of duel. And on that occasion, no foul, no VAR review, no earpiece crackling, no reversal. The goal stood, Messi's name went on the score sheet, and nobody blinked. Brazil went to Infantino and said, "Same action, different outcome, different team." Explain that. That is not frustration. That is strategy. The CBF has constructed a comparative legal case, put it in writing, attached it to the tournament's formal record, and dared FIFA to justify the inconsistency. And crucially, they made clear they are not asking for the goal to be given back. They know the score reads 3-0. They know Vinicius recovered to score again before the hour. They know Matheus Cunha added a third and the match was never in doubt. The CBF's letter says explicitly, "Our main interest is not to revisit individual decisions, but to ensure that the criteria governing VAR intervention are applied consistently, transparently, and equally to all teams throughout the tournament." Read that sentence again, slowly, because it is close to unanswerable. If the standard applied to Brazil is genuinely different from the one applied to their greatest rival, then Brazil have not simply complained, they have identified a double standard, and they have done it in precise, formal writing with a witness the entire world recognizes. And now, here is where the story finds its final, most uncomfortable layer. Because this complaint is not only about the 21st minute of a group stage match. It is also about 2018. It is also about Russia. Cesar Ramos, the same referee who stood in that Miami stadium, the same man who walked to the pitchside monitor and reversed the goal, also officiated Brazil's group stage match against Switzerland at the 2018 World Cup in Russia. A match that ended in a draw. A match the CBF has spent 8 years arguing they should not have drawn. They cite a clear penalty denied. They cite a foul missed in the build-up to the Swiss equalizer. Brazil's official institutional position, held since that tournament, is that Ramos cost them in that match. And FIFA, knowing that history, knowing that existing friction, appointed him to referee Brazil again at this World Cup. The CBF's formal response is not subtle. Their demand is that Ramos be removed, not rotated, not quietly sidelined, removed, from any and all future Brazil assignments in North America. Not just this round, gone. That has no modern precedent at a major tournament. A national federation publicly and formally demanding that a specific named official be banned from their games. In writing, on the record, for the tournament's history books. The institutional weight of that is difficult to overstate. Every referee on this World Cup's panel will know what has been filed. Every VAR operator watching a screen in a review center will feel the pressure of it. The question of how football handles refereeing disputes has been tested before, but rarely this precisely, rarely with a comparison this politically loaded, and rarely with a witness as devastating as Messi. FIFA has said nothing. No statement, no acknowledgement, no indication of whether Ramos will be reviewed or whether the CBF's arguments carry weight. The organization has offered the complaint exactly the silence that powerful institutions give uncomfortable truths while they decide what to do with them. And in that silence, the complaint sits, formally logged, publicly documented, impossible to quietly set aside. Sitting inside all of this is an almost perfect irony. Brazil won, 3-0. The disallowed goal changed the scoreline in the moment and changed nothing about the outcome. Vinicius Jr., the man who had his goal taken away in the 21st minute, went on to add another before full time. The Seleção topped their group. Ancelotti's squad heads to Houston to face Japan in the round of 32, and by any measure of results, they look like genuine title contenders, playing some of the most electric football at this tournament. But the CBF sent the letter anyway. Because this was never just about Scotland. This is about the next match. And the match after that. This is about what happens when Brazil reach the quarterfinals, or the semifinals, or a final watched by 1 billion people, and a referee raises his arm, and the earpiece crackles again. This is about making sure the standard applied to everyone else is the same standard applied to the nation that has done more for this sport than arguably any other on earth. 5 titles, 7 decades, generations of the most breathtaking football the game has ever produced. Brazil does not demand favors. The letter makes that perfectly clear. They demand equality. And they have framed that demand with evidence precise enough and a comparison visible enough that it is very hard to dismiss in the daylight. Somewhere in Zurich, that letter is waiting for a reply. And the longer FIFA stays silent, the louder the question becomes. Because if the VAR standard applied to Brazil genuinely differs from the one applied to Argentina, if McAllister's challenge passes where Vinicius's does not, then this tournament has a credibility problem that no result, no spectacle, and no expansion to 48 teams can paper over. So here's the question I want to leave you with. If you were running FIFA right now, what do? You cannot give the goal back. You cannot publicly confirm the inconsistency without undermining the entire refereeing operation. But you cannot ignore a complaint this precise, from a federation this powerful, built on a comparison this publicly visible. What is the right call? Drop your answer below because I genuinely want to know what you think. And if this kind of football politics grips you the way it grips me, the referee controversies, the power plays, the documents that reshape tournaments, subscribe and leave a like. Because trust me, this will not be the last letter written before this World Cup is over. Not by a long way.